Welcome, vampires, to Behind the Fang, the Progeny Vampire Podcast. A podcast by, for, and about the members of the Progeny Vampire community in Second Life. This is the voice of the source, Lachiel. Today on Behind the Fang, I would like to share with you a very special recording that I did about a week ago when some members of the community who happen to live in my specific geographic area in real life came by for a visit. I hope you will enjoy this session. We certainly did. This is the voice of the source, Lachiel. Today I am joined here in my home in Ohio by some distinguished guests from our Progeny Vampire community. I have Lord Domino and Lady Katerina from the Scribes Guild. Bandit has also joined us here for the first time. And Mazie, one of her progeny.
Bandit is also from the Scribes Guild.
Oh, that's right. And she's actually, what all roles do each of you guys have at this point? Everyone's always switching around.
Yeah, right?
So, Domino, tell us about your roles in Progeny at the moment.
I'm a house leader. I'm a clan sovereign. I'm a blood regent for SD. And I'm also your infernal.
That's correct. Katerina?
And the Scribes.
And
the guild master scribe.
Founder and guild master.
Yeah, and I'm a house owner, co-sovereign, and guild, grand mistress is what Leo calls me. But yeah, the co-master of the Scribes Guild. That's pretty much it.
And Bandit?
I am a house leader, a proxy to a clan. I am blood regent of ADIE, and I'm a master scribe.
Woot woot.
Mazie?
I am getting turned tonight. But I've been with Progeny for about a month and a half.
I've been training her.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the community.
Thank you.
So how did you find out about us? Being the most recent addition to the community, at least at this table, you probably have the most interesting stories to tell. How did you find out about Progeny and what brought you into our group?
Well, I joined Second Life about 2 years ago, and I was in Bloodlines, and then I got sick, so I got off for a little bit and got the Forever Amulet so I could come back. And I came back and everybody was gone. So I was I looked up vampire pretty much to try to find places where I might run into my family or see someone I recognized. And in two different locations, I ran into Chakra, which is
My most loyal progeny.
yeah, her daughter, and she talked to me at the second location, and then I was brought to her land.
Yay.
And then a week later, she moved in with me.
In real life.
In real life. Yeah.
Besties. Yeah.
Sometimes people just click.
Yep.
Yeah. It's very cool. I mean, I have not personally met anybody from Second Life in real life, aside from the Diabolics, and then only via voice conversation until you guys. And we all just happened to live in the same geographic area and came to know that with you guys a couple of months ago, and then Bandit joined us this week for the first time. And so we thought we'd do a very special sort of impromptu podcast today.
See, the Midwest in Ohio is just a big black hole. It just doesn't let people leave forever.
I
get drawn back.
I seriously, I moved as far away from home as it is physically possible to move. Stayed away for 11 years. And fate has drugged me back, kicking and screaming. And here I am, back in Ohio, southeastern
I went
Indiana.
to California and Seattle, and I'm back here. 11
years in China. I miss it, but I'm also happy to be here now. So, Progeny. Most of you are privy to the discussions in the Arch Vampire Conclave. Can't discuss too much the detail of what goes on there because it is a conclave, it is secret. But some of the things we're talking about are just general brainstorming on some new concepts we've been working on. And I have been coming more and more to the Arch Vampires as a sounding board. Not to go around the Diabolics. I still go through them for final decisions and usually the initial sounding board. But it helps me to get more opinions of the favorable response the community might have if I go to the Archvampires and allow them to discuss these, especially when it's core vampire concepts. There's two concepts that have been under heavy discussion lately, one of which is age groups. What do you guys think of the new age group ideas?
I think it's fantastic. Without going into too many details, that it gives you something to look forward to. Even after you've reached Leviathan, there's still more to go.
There's actually a lot more to go.
A lot more to go.
Yeah. Now, actually, I don't have a computer in front of me, so... Oh, wait a minute. I do. I do. So we have... how many new age groups? There's 6 new age groups past the Leviathan?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, actually, Domino, you came up with... or you noticed that there was a discrepancy in the spacing.
The age gap.
The age gap, what was it between...
between, was it...
It's like 2,000 nights or so of it.
Between old and ancient.
Okay, so I looked it up. We have 6 additional age groups. The new age map, I guess you would say, would be, of course, fledglings will still be any vampire under 30 nights old. Mature, any vampire over 30 nights old. Old, if you're over 300 nights old. Venerable, if you're 500 nights old or greater. Ancient, 1,000 nights old. Colossal is 1,500 nights. Leviathan, 2,000. Behemoth, 2,500. Gorgonian, 3,000. Promethean, 3,500. Tartaric, 4,000. Typhon, 4,500. And Draconian is 5,000 nights plus.
That would be almost like godlike.
Yeah, well, in addition to these groups, we're talking about even making the combat differential much greater. So that if you are a vampire, say 3 or 4 age groups younger than the one you're fighting with, you have almost no chance. But if you are like 30 vampires, 3 or 4 age groups below fighting one, you still do have a chance, because some level of luck should always play. You should never be able to go and say, I'm a Draconian, bow before me. Well, you should be able to do that, but you know. So what do you guys think about this idea? Have any ideas or inputs you'd like to add?
I think it's a great idea, because that's like 10 years, to get to that age.
Yeah.
And so there's always something to look forward to.
Right. And
rather than just being stagnant.
Especially if there's going to be bonuses that go along with those age groups. So the longer you're with the system, the more advantage you get. It's, what do they call that in gamification? It's like rewards or badges. So you get to this level and then you have something more to show for it. This all came about because traditionally when I make a new Archvampire, I usually boost their age, because Archvampires should be considerably older. In theory, they've been around since the dawn of time, and I used to boost their age quite a bit. But now we've got some new Archvampires. Some of the old ones are already Leviathans, and most of the young ones are ancient already. So there's not much more I can boost them. And I thought, what am I going to do about this? I've actually got people already in the top age group. So I thought, well, I'm just going to have to make some more age groups. And then all of these other ideas came out from that. So we've been working on that. Bandit, you have a very good idea that you posted on the forum a while back. You want to talk to us a little bit about that?
It was my idea for vampire illnesses, and a couple times in whatever media I've consumed, I've seen vampires be able to get sick. And one of the examples was in True Blood, they're like, don't bite this guy, he has insert blood illness. And
Hep B, yeah.
And I'm like, that would be, well, we have a sickly health state. What if we get people complain about shades being everywhere? There should be a risk, like a die or a percentage of when you bite someone who is sickly, you should be able to get sick.
That's actually a really cool idea. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Well, it would be, yeah.
Even in Blade, there was a different type of vampire.
I mean, usually now when I see sickly, I just finish them off. But
Yeah. Well, in theory, humans in Progeny are supposed to generate so much blood per day. So if you take them down to
0.05.
if you take them down to 0 or down to sickly or near death, the lower they are, the longer it takes to regenerate.
Right.
So if I forget what pale is the first level down from healthy. Usually
Flushed,
flushed.
flushed, right?
Yeah, they'll regenerate that in like a month.
It's not fast.
It's not
not,
fast.
no.
It's not meant to be fast.
Right.
So when I was first researching the system, trying to figure out how to design how the blood system will work, I actually looked at a lot of medical records and found out that most people have actually 5 liters of blood plus or minus in their system, and that people go into pulmonary failure when they lose up to 50% of their blood. That's like 49%, something like that. So that's where I based my system around. Is humans are near death when they're at like 52% or something like that. They get down to almost half and then they die.
And that explains how you can keep drinking them until they're bone dry for such a
Now.
long time.
Yeah. And then I also, when I decided how vampires will feed, I went and I got a glass of water and a stopwatch. I put 1/2 a liter of water in that glass and I drank it, and I timed myself 6 times to figure out about how much in like 2 or 3 seconds on average a person can drink of a liquid. Now, granted, as water, it's not a viscous liquid. I wasn't drinking ketchup or something like that. But I mean, I still
Chocolate
thought
syrup, yeah.
so. The entire progeny feeding process is based on those measurements I took. That, okay, I know that we can drink this much out of this human without killing them, and then I know that I can drink this much liquid in this amount of time, and I divided it up into 5 segments, and that's how the health system came into play.
How'd you do the spill rate? All over the
Well, that's something. There's two elements to that. It's a good question. There's 2 elements to that. One element is the dead man's blood. They came about after a while. People were like, I want to. They're dead, but they still have blood. It's getting wasted, and I thought. And also at the time, I had a lot of people going on biting people without scanning them. And so I came up with the idea of the dead man's blood thing based off a conversation Super Dexing and I once had. And I forget exactly where the idea germinated from, but I know I came up with the original, I'm going to do this. And he thought it was a really cool idea. So I implemented the dead man's blood feature saying that, okay, you no longer have to stop when they die. But you're now...
If you're full.
Yeah, if you're full, you do, but then you're just spilling it.
If
Right.
you actually ingest it.
Right. So
You
if
will
you
puke.
adjust it, you start yakking. And I remember the first day after I released that, people were like, oh my God. And I was at a nightclub and I was feeding on this person. Also, I started vomiting all over them. Oh my God, it was so
Was
hilarious.
the blood poison between the lines where when people would fight, they'd be just vomiting all over each
God.
other? I would just bring popcorn
they're
and
fine
watch.
anyway.
Yeah, I know. That's why I did away with it, because it didn't stop the problem.
I have a funny story related to that. There's a really ancient vampire named Rachel Sinister. I don't know if you know her.
I know
or not,
Rachel. Yep.
but
Rachel
She has
C.
a picture where she was at a safe hub and she killed Pope Francis as puking his blood back on him. It's a great picture.
We had some fun with that. Got a whole bunch of other interesting concepts that come. So anyway, let's get back to the topic. Is we've got the dead man's blood as one part of it, and then the spill rate was supposed to be. Vampires have a bunch of stats that you guys are probably not even aware of. There's like persistence, and there's precision, there's strength, there's accuracy, and all of those affect different ways that they bite. Right now, they're all set to 1. Mm-hmm. The idea behind Progeny is that each bloodline is its own subspecies that is supposed to be designed to be somewhat different, and over time, they will diverge in different ways, and that's one way they can diverge. The arch vampire can say, well, strength is the most important asset to my bloodline, and precision is the next most important. And what strength would do for you is once you attach, once you bite, that escape distance grows. The stronger you are, so in effect, you're able to hold your victim from escaping. Even though they may be physically moving away from you in the world, you're able to actually hold on. So in theory, they're still there because they have not escaped. Precision reduces the amount of blood spill. So a vampire with a high precision rate would get more draining and leaving less behind. Whereas a high drain rate would generate more spill.
A messy eater.
A messy eater. Bigger effects. I've actually thought about, for those vampires who like combat, to actually, have you guys ever seen, what's the old vampire movie? Fright Night.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when she turns into she gets the big giant mouth of fangs? I was thinking about making a prim like that. It's a big giant mouth of fangs. And if you're wearing it, you can do a massive amount of damage. But you're going to be guilty of a masquerade violation if you're around a bunch of humans. You have some kind of scanner that's scanning for non-players. And if you got this on and they're around, you'll get a masquerade violation and you could be punished or have a hunter sent after you or something. But you can, in theory, just rip people's throats
I know
out.
people who would love that.
Yeah, so that's something that might come along later on. But so the precision, the blood spill, the blood rate, and the regen rate all comes from the fact that I did not want to make Progeny a full role-play system like DS or Gorian meter, where there's like all sorts of different stats, and I didn't want to have like health and stamina and body and all these different characteristics to represent different kinds of health. I wanted to say that how much blood, it's a vampire game, how much blood you have is your health, and various ways of looking at that particular stat, and therefore that's the way I designed it. Now that we're looking at adding familiars and we're looking at adding slayers and lycanthropes, I'm probably at some point going to have to add in at least one or two other forms of health monitoring, but I'm not sure what that's going to look like just yet.
And all those could be worked into the blood talents, possibly.
Oh yeah, blood talents are a big part of that. The idea... Yeah, that's a good thing to talk about. So blood talents are also partially implemented. The current framework I'm working on for the vampires allows for timed effects. This is part of the reason that gen rate and normal humans don't generate the way they should, and why bleeding doesn't work at all. Normally if you bite somebody, you're doing a certain amount of bleeding damage. And if the bleeding system was working, like say you take someone to near death and you've been feeding on them for a while, they're going to keep bleeding for a long time.
They'll probably bleed out.
They will bleed out. So, but it doesn't work right now because at the time I couldn't figure out an efficient way to do bleeding, to trigger that to keep happening after you have left their presence.
Would you then have a way to heal them if you were going to have that happen?
Yeah, you could. That would be a blood talent. If you have a familiar, you chew on their neck for a while, and you don't have a high precision, so you're doing a lot of damage. You could then apply a little bit of your own blood with maybe a little bit of your potency, and heal that damage immediately. It wouldn't heal their health, but it would stop the bleeding. That would be a potential blood talent. So what is a blood talent? Just like these stat bonuses for different bloodlines, where this bloodline has a stronger strength, and this bloodline has a stronger willpower, and this bloodline has a stronger charisma, or whatever else, blood talents are powers that are powered by either potency, blood, or both. One thing I wanted to do when I designed this system is I wanted to make it easy to feed. But I also wanted feeding to mean something, right? And right now it's easy to feed. It's always been easy to feed. You don't have to give me money to stay alive in the game. You don't have to buy blood from me. Right? That's,
You can't.
I don't sell it. It's a core feature of the system. You shouldn't have to pay money to stay in the game and to stay alive. Extra things that you don't need, I can charge for. You know, potions, regeneration, whatever. But just to play doesn't cost anything, right? It shouldn't be hard to stay alive, but it should be challenging. So that's why you've got the proximity rule and the, you know, not supposed to be feeding in big giant public places things. But blood talents let you spend blood. So it's easy to get blood,
Oh, I see.
but what do you do with it once you got it? We've got people that have hundreds of thousands of gallons of blood stored in the blood bank.
22,600, I believe, is the top person.
Yeah,
That's
so
Phoenix Darkling.
it's amazing how much
Trivia
blood's in
question
there.
I submitted.
So, I mean, what do you do with all that? I mean, the vampires can feed so much faster than you lose blood, especially as you age. I mean, there has to be some purpose for it. So, the idea of blood talents is you burn blood for some, like say maybe you burn 0.1 blood per hour for like an awareness that tells you if there's any lycanthropes around. Or maybe you burn 1 blood to completely heal a familiar, like one liter gets burnt up with, say, maybe 1/2 a point of potency, and boom, you've just completely healed your familiar from near death. You've just, you know, used blood magic.
Well, that's going to use potency up a lot quicker than we're used to.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. The potency is another thing that is accruing far faster than it's getting used up, especially when you get very old. And potency and blood are, again, 2 parts of the vampire economy that have an income but very little output. When you first get embraced, potency is like critical to people. Like, oh, it takes me a month to get my first point.
Yeah.
You will feel that pain. So.
Yeah, but, you know, after you've been in the system for about a year, you're getting about a point a week,
Yeah.
maybe 2 points a week. I haven't seen the math for a while. So giving you something to do with it other than store it is, I mean, storing was great. People were so thrilled about, oh, I can get killed now and not have to worry about losing 1,000 points of potency that I've been saving, you know. But, you
I
know,
lost 36 once. I was like, oh.
it's so annoying. So, I want to be able to give you a way to burn blood, and I want to give you a way to burn potency for effect. Those blood talents will be chosen by the arch vampire, and the idea behind it was each bloodline accrues so many blood points or talent points over time based on their active population. So if this bloodline has a lot more active vampires in it, they're going to get more blood pounds because there's more blood magic source behind that arch, right? So
Just following the mantle of power down.
yeah, kind of.
Or could like an arch spend something that protects all of their people, like like a role play effect, like
That's a great idea for one.
it'd be like, I mean, but in a risk, there's outcasts who still are related by blood, so they would have to be careful.
Yeah, because it would affect them too. So that's a great idea. I hadn't thought about that. Let's investigate that in a minute. But first, let me finish explaining. So how the accrual process works. So if I'm an arch vampire and I have a bloodline, and let's say I have 5 blood power points accrued, and I haven't picked one yet. I can introduce as the source a series of blood powers of varying power levels that have different costs. Some of them will be first come, first serve. You know, this power, once it's applied to a given bloodline, only that bloodline has it, as long as that bloodline exists. Some of them, all the bloodlines can have them, depending on how powerful they are. So a really, really powerful one might be, 5 points.
Right.
So it might take you a while to get it. Whereas the other ones, I'm going to take these 5 1-pointers and, my people can use them. The power cascades down. Normally in progeny, generation really doesn't matter. It's just a status thing. Everyone wants to be Gen 1 because they want to be Gen 1, but it doesn't really affect much system-wise. I mean, it doesn't really have that great of an effect. If 2 vampires are of the same age or approximate age and they're fighting, the lower generation is going to have a little bit of an edge. but really it doesn't matter that much.
Tiny bit.
Yeah, it's a tiny bit. But in this case, it would matter because the farther away from the arch you get, the less of an effect you get from that power, whatever it is. But I love your idea of a power that is not all vampires in the line get this power, like, say, invisibility.
It's like temporary.
But what I'm saying is you're talking about a power that is actually actuated by the arch.
Yes, they trigger it.
Yeah, and they power it and keep it on or turn it off, as opposed to a power that every vampire has the ability to turn it on and off for themselves, which are most blood talents. So we could put a 5-point blood talent that is like a shield.
Exactly, and if you know that you're coming on attack, you can, and the arch vampire can spend, like, say, like, so many liters of blood, like lots of it, and then it protects the line for a lot amount of time.
Yeah, like 24 hours
Yeah.
or something like
Which
that.
could be really useful.
Yeah,
Well, I
a
was-
ton of potency or something.
I was
Yeah.
wondering too, because you mentioned you were talking about different blood talents, so like maybe this really rare one being 5
Yeah.
points
Yeah.
to get or whatever, and then these others being 1 point. If a line that is currently powerful, okay, gets one of these 5-point ones, okay, does that stay with the line regardless of its power going forward?
You mean if the line starts to decline?
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Okay.
I would say, well, I mean, it makes sense to me that, once they simply wouldn't probably get any more if they start declining. They're
But they're not going to, so they won't lose any power.
right. They would slow down their accrual of points going forward. So I mean, there are some lines that just do not grow, and I this part isn't done yet. I'm not sure that it's going to work this way, but this is a great conversation to help shape it. So this is something I need to get into play because one of the things we've been talking about a lot in Diabolic and Arch Conclave is bloodline names. I had a long conversation the last couple days with the Diabolics about my idea of a bloodline is a subgroup or a subspecies. A clan is a social group, a political group. Most of the existing bloodlines have names that sound to me like clubs. It's the Brothers of Blood. It's Raven's Claw. It doesn't sound.
Society of Misfit Vampires?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a family name, a genetic marker. Where I grandfathered all the old lines and tried to force all the new lines into my picking their name based on the progenitor of the line. But after this new batch of arch vampires, not all of them have a last name, and those that do, they don't necessarily lend themselves to a cool sounding surname, right? So I'm like, okay, I opened it up to the vampires, like, give me a name, the arch vampires and I will discuss it, and we'll decide if it's appropriate or not. But I find myself kind of backed into a corner thinking that, okay, this is the way I really want it to be, but none of the arch vampires really want it to be that way. So maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I should say, let's give them what they want. I mean, it doesn't matter that much. Diabolic Boy said to me, I believe today, that, it's just a name. It's not really that important. But to me, that's my response. And this is in no way derogatory or dispersionary towards Boy. He's awesome. He's one of the best people I've got. But, to me, Progeny is all about mythology. It's all about the story that we have put together as a community. Its only value is the mythology that it's built on. That yes, I started, but has become so much more than that. And I'm just one mind. And yes, sometimes I try to play Daddy Knows Best, because sometimes I do, but I don't always get it right. I make a lot of mistakes, but I've also learned a lot over the years of doing this. So when I come into a situation like this, I ask myself, am I doing the right thing? And we're trying to decide right now as a Diabolic group, it's, should I just open it up and say, okay, the arch vampires choose the name for their line, and if their line name happens to be the same as their clan, then the clan is just like the royal clan of the line, and the other clan is ancillary or whatever. Or we choose that we're just going to assign the line name as Diabolics, when we make an arch vampire and say that your line name is going to be your family name based on whatever it is you go by. Because I can't really use the
Resident.
resident doesn't make
The
sense.
residence line.
And have 50 of them, and I don't like using the display name line because everyone changes them all the time. So
I guess you could always go with adding a new book, a book of bloodlines.
yeah, well, we kind of have something like that, or I've worked on something like that.
You don't really want to have that be changing all the time. You scan
Yeah.
somebody and you're like, are
were
we
Carolinians
friends or
yesterday,
enemies
who
or
were they?
not?
Yeah, I really want it to be kind of set, and I want to draw a distinction between what is a bloodline and what is a clan, because even though there is a really blurry gray area, because clans can be loyal to bloodlines, and this bloodline can have people from different clans, and it's all crazy like that. And a lot of clans, follow a bloodline, and some don't. But the bloodline is supposed to be a subspecies. There's not supposed to be loyalty built into it. You don't have to stay loyal to your sire, right? You have your biological family and you have your social family. One you're born into, the other you choose. Generally, they're the same when you're young, and they tend to be different when you're older.
And people are trying to make them all the same now.
Yeah, well, kind of, but again, it boils back to at the end of the day, what do the people of Progeny want? And in this case, what do the arch vampires want? It's pretty clear to me what they want is the name of their clan or the name of their line to be the same as the name of their clan in most cases. So that the clan has a line.
Then there's the thought of having the patriarchs, matriarchs actually not in the political system, but they really aren't, but still not withholding a clan or a house, making them a figurehead of.
I've had that conversation multiple times. That is something I truly regret. I should have done that from the start. Arch vampires should be elders of vampires. They are not. They would not have a clan. They exist outside the clans and above the clans. And then they would act as they're kind of acting now as a interclan judiciary. The vampire elders, when there's some sort of strife or turmoil, people go to them and they act as a council over all things. But that's not the way it evolved. It's kind of functioning like that now, but the arch vampires are a centrifying political organization. It's evolved that way, and it has resisted every attempt I've made to change it. So I don't know if I can fix that at this point.
What would be interesting is if in another chapter, if this had happened, if Bloodhound was in place, a clan could be like, okay, I like this bloodline, this bloodline. Let's get a representative each and be in the clan and use those talents to their advantage. And that way, if there was separate from political, then you could do that. But it's really not set structured, as you're saying, to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
So what you're saying as a
like
clan leader, recruiting from all these different bloodlines to accrue all of these talents.
With a goal in mind, you're like, I
going.
want these talents and this arrangement of it.
My original vision of a clan, that's exactly what it was about.
Wow.
Or, drawing people from... Actually, I think I had...
Different species.
I had both options in mind. I said, when I first come up with the idea of clans, saying that one clan would adapt people from many bloodlines so that they have all those talents under their belts, where another clan might be a isolationist, where only people that what do they call
Purists,
it, Hitler type, only of our bloodline and nobody else, they're inferior. You would see that. Clans and Progeny were originally supposed to be akin to the plans in Vampire the Masquerade. Mm-hmm. A limited number, and each one unique and distinct in its own way. Although, as I find myself now, 4 or 5 years later, as I'm allowing more and more clans to be formed, that it's becoming more like the bloodlines in our game now represent what is a clan in those earlier games.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the clan is now an uber nation, or a city-state.
Yeah.
And then the house is effectively what is a clan in other systems. that's kind of where we are now. It's the direction things are going, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Well, we've been talking for quite a while. Does anyone else have any questions or ideas they'd like to bring up? Well, I apologize to all you listeners out there, all 5 or 10 or 50 of you. We've kind of done this impromptu. We didn't have any plan or anything like that. We just felt like we got a group of us together and a chance to record something for all of you and share some ideas and some thoughts. And
I do have one question.
Sure.
We talked about these possible changes, and okay, so the age differences, possibly the blood talents. Would this be something that rolls out with a new HUD or something that's added into the existing HUD?
It will definitely roll out with the new HUD because I need to get that done. And I was talking about the time-based effect. That's part of the new HUD framework. It's not part of my existing framework. And I have also been working very hard to get everything language neutral. The existing HUD, I cannot do that. It's just too many parts, too many scripts, all acting in different ways to really get like a language neutrality put in there for localization. The new framework everything is language neutral. The system itself just cares about little codes, and then it passes it to a communication script that does all of the dialogues
Nice.
and the script. So everything can be localized. Every component of Progeny can be in any language that we support, which is a great thing that you guys have been doing. Whenever I come up with a new toy or component or whatever, I send the script to you guys, and you send it back to me in like 5 different languages within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So
One more question on the HUD. I heard it's going to be a totally new design, new textures, new everything. Is that true?
That's true. We've had it for a while.
Yeah, it's on the website already.
Yeah,
There's
we've had it for a
picture
while.
of
I once I accepted this job in Cincinnati, my time went from having roughly 20 to 30 hours a week to work on Progeny to having about 2. So, while I've got some wonderful artists and a lot of people who help me with various things support-wise, I am still the only main developer. So it really boils down to how much time I have to put into things. And granted, we just spent, 6 or 7 hours having a nice social occasion here. But sometimes the source needs a break too.
Isn't that the truth?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's nice to get out and do stuff. But I've got a lot working on. I've been talking to the Diabolics. I've been talking to the Arch Vampires. Really get a lot of synergy in these ideas that are rolling forward. And I've been doing a lot of coding. I did a lot of updates on the database in the last couple of days. We didn't even talk about the new resire system.
No.
That is coming into play. I'm really fixing that. I'm going to try to make it cheaper, more effective, yet maybe limit the number of uses people have, so that they can't just keep resiring back and forth all over the place.
Get rid of the voids and the shadows.
Yeah, well, no, those will always still be there because the system will break if there's no direct link. But what I'm going to get rid of is automatic orphan resiring of the vampires who stay behind. Usually because they're dead or they're in a coma or what have you. Okay, we're going to talk about this real quick. Currently, if you have a chain of people resire, one of them moves and allows for followers to resire, it opens up a tree of voids underneath of them that matches the tree of vampires under them. Their original position in the blood chain becomes a shadow, and they move over into their void position.
Correct.
In the tree. So now we have one space created for each of their progeny and grand progeny. Now each of those grand progeny that follow move into their space in the void tree, and their space in the original tree becomes a shadow. Once that right collapses, all of those voids disappear, and those vampires who had a void as a shadow move up to the first vampire above them.
To their sire.
To their sire, or their sire, or whatever,
Right.
all the way until they find a real vampire, which at the most is going to be the one that actually moved.
But that doesn't mean generation bomb.
Yeah. Well, they
has been.
Yeah, they generate. They gain generation. That's just the way it works. The people who stay behind have always moved up too. The problem is we have a lot of people staying behind because they're not in the system anymore.
Right.
And a lot of them going from Gen 3 to Gen 1, by default, and that's just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is we've defined something called an orphan state. So the void side will continue to work as it has worked. So when the right ends, all the voids go away, and everyone gets resired up underneath their sire, because no one can go above the one that moved, that paid for the move and paid for the gen gain. Right. So they all end up on it. Just condenses on that side. On the other side, any shadow that exists will disappear, in that the people who are sired to that shadow will become true orphans. Anyone underneath them become orphans in practice. Right? They're still orphans, they're just not prime orphans. Then the arch vampire can say, I'm going to resire you who are orphans somewhere else. You'll have, I think, 30 days or 30 nights to get this resolved before you're automatically dusted out of the system. In most cases, like I said, these are long gone vampires, so it doesn't matter anyway. Dusting them's okay. But for those that are active, the arch vampire can move them, and if they stay at the same generation, there's no problem. They just move them. If they want to move up in generation, they're going to have to pay the generation change fee. It's ridiculous that we have been allowing people to gen up for nothing, for not being active, and that's a wrong way to do it.
Doesn't follow lore.
So yeah, we're going to fix that. We're going to allow the arch vampire to choose the fate of orphans. They'll have the choice of either move them laterally, put them under another vampire of the same generation so their generation doesn't change, move them down so they get a higher generation, or if they want to move them up, they have to pay a generation change fee, or they can dust them. Say, I want them out of this. They're not active, just kill them. If the moving vampire, if the orphan does not want to move, they have the option of doing a full resire out of the line. So we're not going to just kill them without giving them a chance to
to freely move wherever they want.
Right. So
when you say dusted, what exactly does that mean?
What
is
is
it
a
like purged
dusted?
out of the system, or
not 100%. So there are 3 states to a vampire when they're destroyed. The first state is a coma. You're nearest to being undead when you're in a coma. Your corpus is still intact, right? You can lay in a coffin, you're there, or whatever. When you're slain, you're considered to have been like mummified. You're a rotten corpse. You still have a corpus. You're still in world. You're still recoverable. There's a bunch of different ways to get recovered from being slain. A VRD potion can be poured over you, or drank, as the actual case is, etc. Dusted is you're completely dust. You're gone. There's no corpus left.
Like on Buffy.
Yeah. What has technically happened when you're in a coma? There's in the database. There's a flag that says you're in a coma. You can't act. When you're slain, there's another flag that is set, and you can't act. Dusted literally changes the database. It takes your vampire character out of the system and makes a backup of all of your stats. Who was your sire? Blah 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 blah, and it puts you into a dusted state, and everyone below you is resired up to the person above you. Right? You're just taken out of the system. To come back from coma, you get revived. To come back from slain, you need a VRD potion or diabolic intervention or whatever other raids are out there.
You wait the 10 days.
10 days, and you automatically regenerate, because when you're dusted, the only way to come back involves a resire. You have to find a new sire that will take you back. You can either say, I just want to start over, and your account is wiped, you go back to human, and then you can be resired. Or you can pay a resire fee and keep all your age and come back that way. I'm going to cut that out.
Okay, that's good.
All right, good.
I think I have one last question.
Sure.
Okay, because I'm sure this is on everybody's mind. But you mentioned how the Arch would be able to see X number of people that were not in
the orphans.
In the orphans, right? So one has to assume they have the tool to see this.
They will.
Which I'm guessing means that we can look forward to the mentor tree, or
it'll be
it will be reborn. I was working on that for almost a month. before life got busy again. It's almost ready. I just need to redo all of the APIs in PHP because I'm moving everything over from C# to PHP. I need to change some things because now there's the potential for sireless progeny within the system, which currently would break everything.
Right,
I need
right.
to fix it so that the tree will work and it will not crash the system. Hunting for people that aren't there. Right. So once I have that fixed, then I'll be able to bring the trees back. I am also thinking about, instead of having it be a Flash-based tree, of making it an iPhone or an Android app.
That'd be
That'd
nice.
be cool, yeah.
Yeah. So that Flash tree that you guys are all familiar with was using a framework developed by another developer that I just leveraged. I've been able to beat it into the form that I wanted, but I could never make it do exactly what I wanted. Like I would prefer the tree be horizontal,
Yes.
but I can't make it do that. I would prefer the tree be, with a picture and a little bit of stats. I have not really been able to do that either. So I might just make something completely new that is smartphone driven, that arch vampires would get for free.
A little social network looking thing.
Yeah.
Give it to the arch vampires for free, and then anyone else can pay a small fee for it, and then have access to just their portion of the tree. Yeah. So that's coming. Working on it.
That'd be cool. Yeah, and I guess that means we'd probably get some of the stats back on the website at that point too.
Yes. We'll end the conversation here, and I'll fill you in on that a little bit later. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good night. See you in World. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.